Greetings, Jessica. I'm just waiting a few more minutes for others to join in. Greetings.
Greetings. How are you?
How are you feeling today?
I'm actually feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good today. How about yourself?
Same here. I'm just trying to use nature to help guide me today.
Amen. Amen. Where are you?
In Atlanta, Georgia.
Beautiful. Okay. Is that where you're based?
Recently, yes, I moved from New York City.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was living in Brooklyn for a while. My family is from the Bronx and Harlem, but
Okay.
I felt like I needed more nature.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Where are you
Yeah.
from?
So I'm originally from DC. I lived in both the Bronx and Brooklyn for a minute, and now I'm in Chicago. I
Oh,
relocated to Chicago. I found I've been sitting with Joshua, and when I followed his page, I saw that's where your information came up.
okay. Give
Hmm.
thanks. Yes, yes. Yeah, I was holding these classes here, and then sometimes I have them on Instagram Live. So I will be doing both, just to like grab some folks from there too. But feel free if you have any questions that you just want to keep to your like between you and I. You can always put them in the chat, and I can answer them. But no one else like in Instagram can see your face or things like that. But I try to like create sangha and community for us to like have the safe space so we can be open and vulnerable if we need to be, and just have like this support group for ourselves, for each other. So it's growing. It's growing.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really beautiful and really necessary. So thank you for holding this space.
Thank you. So in the beginning, let me check the time. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna start. I'm just gonna put the IG live and just start that. So for the beginning of the sit, have you been practicing? Uh,
Yes, I have. Just starting a daily practice, but I've been, practicing as much as possible for the past 6 months.
Good, good, good. So what I like us to do is start with a sit for about 20 minutes, and um, and then I'll give a talk, um, whatever comes from my spirit, and then we can have Q&A and take it from there. Just let it flow. Uh, yes.
Beautiful.
Okay.
I'm gonna change my posture.
Yes. Let's find ourselves in a periodically, because I still have to admit people in. So periodically, I will be checking that. So just in case it kind of like disrupts the flow, the energy, that's what I'm doing.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So to help us ground before we enter into practice, um, I want to just kind of acknowledge my environment. For the past From the beginning of the pandemic, I was stuck in Ecuador, bittersweet, right? And when I came back, I into New York City, I realized that there's this call-in, this need to be more in nature, and I just immediately felt like I needed to come here. That's why I came to Atlanta, because I wanted some of that warm weather, but also more nature, something to like comfort me. And uh, so I just want to like, before we start, to like ground ourselves into our environment, no matter where we are, and to just feel the earth beneath us, and to feel whatever nature that we do have around us, whether we're fully in it or we have a plant or just the soil beneath us, that we can just ground in that and give thanks to that, to this natural flow that gives us this energy, the oxygen, this beautiful noise when the wind hits the leaves, to just help us to become present. And I'll just give a short guidance to our sit tonight. We already started with grounding, feeling the earth beneath us, feeling the warmth and the love surrounded by our environment. And we can begin to take notice of our breath, the inflow and outflow, and finding ways to detect the breath wherever it's the most easiest to notice. Maybe it's from our nostrils and tickling the top of our lips, or the rising or falling of our chest and abdominal area. And just feeling into the body, whatever the body feels like, just being connected and in tune to whatever the body is feeling. Whether you're feeling tension in areas of the body, and what does that feel like when you begin to notice it and bring light to it, and what happens when you breathe into it. And there are many anchors that we can use to help us bring us back to the present moment, because there are times when thoughts will arise, and we're not here to look at thoughts as our enemies, as they can bring great insight. But what we want to do is just find our way back to any anchor, whether it's the breath, the sound of the environment, whatever the body feels. Allow that to anchor you back into the present moment. You might find that thoughts arise again, and just remembering that our thoughts are okay to come and go as it please, just as long as we're not carried away by the storyline, and we're not allowing our thoughts to control us. We simply can just acknowledge that we're thinking and come back to the breath. or come back to what the body is feeling, or come back to the sound in the background. always so good to practice and to feel the benefits of practice. And when you maybe found yourself a few days out of it, and then you get this like beautiful, sweet reminder of how good it is to just come back to yourself and to come back to what's here. Um, Usually for these classes, I'm like note heavy. I have all my notes, all my books, and I woke up really early, earlier than usual. Um, and I came immediately outside. I've been dealing with so much heaviness, and I just felt like I couldn't go back to sleep. I went outside right here, and I just paid attention to everything. At first, I started journaling, and then I stopped journaling, and I just started paying attention to the sound of the birds, a ladybug flying, and just so many different in nature. And then I was given more life and face in what I felt was suffering, being overwhelmed with, being unhappy with, these feelings of being with what's not pleasant. And I started to just be with that, feel into all of it. And then it was just something that started happening. Like I started just putting a smile on my face. Like, this feels good. And it was just something so transformative about that moment because when I was resisting everything that I was feeling or trying to find something else to add to my to do list, I was actually feeling more of that pain. And when I decided to just be with it, I was like creating this form of alchemy. Like I was just transforming this energy of fear, anxiety, worry, and then coming out into nature and just seeing how harmonized and how everything was just sequenced and working. And I just felt this love, this comfort from nature. And it was just this combination of being with all that was overwhelming with me and being with nature that just comfort me. And immediately that suffering went away. So what I viewed as suffering is there. And I think that what's so beautiful about the teaching of Buddha is their focus is like understand that suffering is there, dukkha, right? Suffering is going to be here. But suffering is not the end of your story. And we can go through these process of identifying suffering, facing suffering, knowing that there's truth behind the suffering, and knowing that we can end the suffering, and then knowing that there's a path to help us end that suffering, the Four Noble Truths. And it's so interesting. I find it beautiful because I'm so note heavy when I come to my classes. And I just thought, what perfect opportunity now, since I've been teaching for so long, to kind of like practice what I preach really and just let everything flow naturally. Let what is arising to just come and be. So as we were sitting together, um, through my practice and your practice, I started to put a smile on my face because I remember the beginning of my practice. And I remember how much I was suffering in my practice. And I'll give you an example. When I used to sit on a mat where I thought meditation was all about, kumbaya, I'm going to be super enlightened.
Or not.
And then I'm coming onto this mat and I'm just feeling like I can't breathe. How, when I'm supposed to be one with the breath, I can't breathe. I feel like I can't breathe. I feel so much tension, so much pain. What is going on? And for so long, I never really kept maybe like more than 5 to 10 minutes of practice. But what helped, and this is why I'm volunteering my life to create sangha, a community. When I started practicing with other people and they started explaining what they were feeling, I was like, oh, I'm not alone. And there's this beautiful transformation when you continue to just practice. You just continue it and you go through it and you feel into all of those bodily sensations, all that's going on in your mind, anything that you probably feel that's outside of yourself that caused the worry and anxiety and the fear, and you just kind of like sit on this mat and you face it all. And it's not like we're entering into like the boxing ring of all sufferings and unpleasantness. Like we're not really trying to do that. We want to feel like some sort of enlightenment, some sort of peace, and we can feel that once we face it, be with it. When I first started practicing, um, I was so ill, spiritually, mentally, physically ill. And all I can do is go throughout my days wishing, 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 wishing. I wish things was this way. I wish things was that way. I wish um, this can end. I don't want to feel this anymore. Why is this happening to me every single day? And I'm just getting more and more sad and depressed. And one of my first teachers said, why don't you just be with it anyway and love yourself regardless? I was in Chicago, by the way, when that was said to me. And I said, be with it. Why do I want to be with what's going on? I just want it to go away. Sometimes there are things that just doesn't go away. Sometimes they stay. And we have this amazing opportunity to have this choice, the choice to be with the suffering, understand this suffering, know that there's a way out of the suffering, and knowing that suffering is not the end of the story. So, what I was going through, I'm still going through, but I'm not suffering. I'm facing it, I'm being with it, and I'm giving myself so much metta in spite of it. And to be able to come to this present moment, being with yourself and all the complexities, and there's beauty in complexities, right? And being with yourself with all of it, the anxiety reduced. I used to go in and out of the hospital for panic attacks prior to this practice. And now I'm here teaching. I'm teaching what I'm practicing, and I'm like full of life and full of like this joy. There's so much joy. And there are times when I come back to those uh, habits that we created from our conditions. There are times when I'm stuck in my worries. That's going to happen. And then I have the practice to bring me right back to remind me that it doesn't have to control me. Oh, I'm worrying. Oh, there's anxiety. Now I have these tools to help me investigate why they're even arising. And there's something so empowering about that. Not only am I coming to be with it all, but I'm understanding it. And I'm able to either, if I can, with grace and control, to let it go or still just be with it. Um, there's also this popular saying in Buddhism. Um, where a teacher said, I teach only one thing, that is suffering and the end of suffering.
Hmm.
But that seems like
Hmm.
two, right? But when we think about it and we're kind of like being with the suffering and end of suffering, because once you face the suffering and you're adding this loving kindness, this metta with it, it kind of ends. And so you could look at it as two, or you could look at beautiful unison that we're coming to be with to end suffering. And that's the beauty of this, something that really focuses on the end of suffering, and how through practice with ourselves and practice with community and this patience and this love and equanimity and joy, how all of these things that we're giving to us can help us. And even if we come back to these habits based on the conditions, I mean, we're human. I'm 35 years old. There's been 35 years of being conditioned a certain way. And I have to like kind of, you know, come out of and become one with more enlightenment, more love, more compassion, something that wasn't really taught to me for so long. So yes, there are going to be moments when we come back to those habits, those conditions, the conditions to probably go and become numb, those conditions where we want to worry so much, those conditions where we want to act out on anger. They're part of it, and they can, yes, cause suffering. But one thing I've allowed myself to do is to not judge myself, to not judge with every emotion that arises. When I came and came across my practice of metta, it's so interesting how I was this famous saying, right? My own worst enemy, the self abuse. And metta has helped me practice a level of self love, a level of compassion. I sometimes it's hard to put into words that for a lot of us, we don't even recognize how we self sabotage ourselves from true happiness, from true liberation, from true freedom. So, starting with self was so important to me, and I'm still working with self. But it was just something so, and there was something so beautiful about working with metta through my suffering and transforming that suffering into just being with it and loving myself anyway. That I was filling my cup up so much that now I'm able to offer metta to other people and offer not just metta to people who have done good to me, but the difficult ones, the challenging ones, the ones you've wished that you never see any more in your lifetime, but now visualizing that person and being able to still offer metta. I realized that when I was able to do that and have been able to do that, I'm creating this domino effect of what the Buddha wanted in the first place, to understand the suffering and end the suffering. I now, through my practice of not being judgmental on myself, to see myself, to be with everything that's unpleasant, I'm able to see you, I'm able to see them, everyone like myself. I'm able to see that you suffer too, and you may not have the tools yet, to realize and recognize that you don't have to suffer anymore. I offer you my metta. I give you so much love and kindness, and I have and hold compassion for you because I'm able to do that for myself. I'm able to show up for myself no matter what. And I am so ready and so down and so stoked to hold space for you too. What a loving feeling. A loving feeling that sometimes I'm just like, I want everybody to feel this way right now. Right now, suffering. You know, I I want to take this moment to actually um, give thanks to the root of the practice. So often when I was teaching mindfulness, I kind of went into a secular kind of way of teaching because I was teaching it to corporate settings and kind of finding the flow. Um, and I started to realize, yes, there are practical practices, but there was something about really tapping back into the roots of the practice that holds so much more um, value to its core. And it makes me understand things in a different way. And it makes me feel things in a different way. So I just want to like take that time as I end my talk just to give thanks for the roots of this teaching. Yes. I also want to give thanks to all of our ancestors. I want to give thanks to our teachers that have transcended and the teachers that are still here, dedicating their lives to teach this path, the path that ends in suffering and to true liberation. I want to thank you for showing up today. I want to thank myself for trusting in the practice and trusting the natural occurrence to what is going to arise during this time. Thank you, thank you.
Ashe, thank you.
So, you
Thank you
all
for
joined me on IG Live. Um, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I hold these classes every Tuesday. If there's any reason, I do let the facilitator Joshua know that I can't make it, but I pump myself up to be here every Tuesday.
this.
Really look forward to it. And
Thank you for that. That was beautiful. um, yeah, I just really resonated with what you said about self judgment.
mm,
I mean, with everything that you said. I mean, like absolutely everything. I was blessed for the first time to really this past weekend have a elongated intensive practice, and very grateful for that. And the two really deep, profound insights that came to me over the past couple of days. And it was really just one in like two different ways, but it wasn't like a thought thing. It was just like something I just felt in my spirit. And it was that truth that, I was just being with and being with and being with the suffering and the pain and all this. And there was just a moment where I just noticed that like the pain and the suffering were two different things.
right.
And that the pain I actually had no issue with, but
Mm,
it was my aversion to it. It was my trying to push it away that was causing me so much suffering. And it was that grasping towards better times or better things that was causing me so much suffering. And it was just like this click. And I was like, oh, and of course, that's in the teachings. But we can read that all day, every day. But until we establish that practice, and it was just a really beautiful thing. But the thing that I think that set me up for that was the day prior, or it may have been in the morning, but it was like I was just being with and being with and being with, and just below everything, below all the storm clouds and all the resistance and all the heaviness, was just this like, it was this thing that I've always felt. It's that thing in my spirit that I've always felt, but it was like able to rise up and just be very clear, as in, you're not missing anything. You have not done anything wrong. The path that you have been on is the exact path that you are on. You are doing everything you need to do, and everything is everything.
Hmm.
And it was just like that. It was that thing that I could always like, I'm like pointing to like my navel, but like I can always feel it here, but it was able to like just like come up for the first time. And it was exactly everything that you were saying. And I shared it with Joshua yesterday of like, it's like, I can theorize it all I want, but it's the practice. It's the practice that allows for that to come up. And I also just wanted to comment on, I really appreciate um, you acknowledging the the spirit realm, because I find honestly I find this practice hard um, to really connect with many in sangha, because the approach is almost always from from a, I don't even want to say from a human standpoint, but from a standpoint that doesn't necessarily acknowledge that realm and doesn't really come that way. So I really appreciate that, because as humans, like connecting and communicating, it makes me feel, um, yeah, it just makes me feel a little bit more at home with the practice. So I appreciate that for sure.
So much. It was such a pleasure to have you like share this energy with me. I'm still getting used to Zoom, and I do miss this physical interaction, but this is still beautiful, and I appreciate you. I appreciate your time with me, and I hope to see you again. And if you have any questions, I guess you can like email it to the organization, Southside Liberation.
Cool.
That if you have any questions about any of the classes, and the organization, we are accepting donations. If you go to the website, you can scroll down, give that way, and
Absolutely.
I'm so grateful.
Likewise. Well, thank you. And it's Dominique, correct?
Dominique, yes.
Okay, beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Dominique, and I will definitely see you soon.
Okay, enjoy. Bye.
Peace and love.
And love.